So we're ready to start the assembly. Everything is pretty much open, so if I go to tile horizontally, we would be able to look at all of these. Tile vertically, a little bit different, but pretty much the same. And then we can just go back to, let's see, what do we want to do? Close all would save all, cancel. Let's see, don't need a new window, but we'll click on it. So that goes back to, and if we double click on, or let's see, gotta remember, that's gonna be the resize. I was thinking one of those would change it back. Anyway, being able to manage those, too much information to see, and looking at the file explorer, the current, everything's open. And then if we go to new, and I want to do assembly millimeters. All right, then everything's going to show up in the begin assembly. So if we go back to the housing and drag it in, that just gets the proof. Let's see, thumbnail preview if we wanted to look, see if there's anything else in here. Graphics preview, don't want to make vertex, virtual, don't need to rotate. And actually not seeing the rotate context. We're not doing a layout, so I'll collapse that. All right, so just the check mark is going to put it origin to origin still. And then we can start bringing in our objects. So next would be the bearings. And so if I drag the bearing in, now the bearing did not have a mate reference. So if we bring that in and go concentric, did not wait for the not rotating, so coincident. Okay, and lock rotation. If I had waited for the little pop-up or paid attention to the little pop-up, it would have put the non-rotating at that point. So let's go back to the bearing, and we'll just review the mate reference. So in features, reference geometry, mate reference, or the S key and the reference geometry. You can go to edge, any for alignment, default, all looks good. Make sure to save it. And the main difference here is we go back to our assembly. Now I'm not doing anything top down that's going to create an in context relation, so not too worried about those and naming it. I do want to turn off the origins, keeping it as clear as possible. So let's go ahead and give this the rocker assembly. Save it, and just doing a real quick check. Alright, so if I hold down the control button and the bearing and drag it to the edge, and this is where contortionist, I actually want to flip this, so hitting tab flips it, and then I can let everything go. Alright, still didn't see the don't rotate, so right click, lock rotation, fills in the little circle, and we're good. Alright, so then on our assembly we have the 35mm pins first. And then it looks like the 28, so okay, so just getting a quick view. So pretty much, let me fly this in and we'll decipher it a little bit. All right, so that one looks like, oh, there is a 17mm pin that I missed. So luckily enough, we have a configuration, so that'll be easy enough to create. So the 17 millimeters are going to be for there and there, and the 35 millimeters there and the 28 there. All right, so got that figured out. All right, so the nice thing about the configuration then, let's see, I still want to be seeing that side. If we go back over to the pin, so the issue with creating a mate reference in the pin, and actually I think I will go into this one, see if it'll let me rename. I know that there was sometimes it would not let the rename of the active. Let's just go to its properties. Yeah, there we go. So 17 millimeters. And so we have the length. Do the boss extrude, double click, make sure it's this configuration only, put in the 17, rebuild, and save. Alright, so since everything's kind of moving that way, I will try to make the mate reference on that end. And we have the any and the default. So here's where it gets kind of strange, is we have the 28, but then we come back over to the mate reference. Oh, did it not update? Nope. Okay, double click. Alright, show configuration. So mate reference is suppressed, or not active in this group. So trying to remember if I could unsuppress that or if I had to add another one. So okay, push some buttons, dusted off some the cobwebs from some brain cells, and this is one of those weird ones that we don't get a suppressed icon, but if we go into its properties, I can uncheck the suppression, and then the 35 millimeter pin. Come on. My patience must be showing again. So right click, properties, suppressed, okay, and save. So now I only really need the one mate reference, and it is applied to the same geometry in all three. So if we were to tile horizontally, yeah, we really don't need all of those open. So there's the assembly. We already used the bearing. We already have that one. We'll add those. And that's in the way of the task pane. Guess there was something that needed to be saved there. Alright, so that makes it a little easier. That's one of the reasons that I do close things as we go. Tile horizontally. Okay, so if we're going to drag and drop, I can pick and drag, and the 35 millimeter goes over here, and we'll hit tab, reverse it, and then I can close that one. And in fact, I'm only using the ones that I need. So with the 28, I can go up and get a real quick reference again. So that one be in the 35. And since it's on that end, if I hold down the control button, I need to make sure that I have an index finger free. So I'm holding down the control with my thumb so that I can hit tab and then let go. Oh, and I let go too soon. So we'll try again, tab, let go of the mouse button, let go of the control button. And then I believe that one pin is going to go to the 28. Oh, it kept the pin 100 on the description, so interesting. All right, so Considering that's going to rotate in the bushing, then we do not want it, or possibly don't want it to be part of that group. All right, so the bearing, the housing. Notice that when we close, we close the wheel, so I can existing part and assembly, browse, grab the wheel drive, and again I could take the time to do the mate reference. The pin being hardware, probably going to be the more functional to add the reference to. And if we make that concentric and I wait, I should be able to lock the rotation, and then we'll make that coincident. So in effect, I've locked the rotation, and if we turn, see the view, turn our origins back on. So if I watch the origin of the wheel and the origin of the pin, their lock rotation is together, so the pin can still turn inside of the bearing and have that that movement. All right, so more pins. And it's not picking that one up, so pin 3 went somewhere, so that means I threw it off into space. So if I zoom to fit, well, it picked up, oh no, that was pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, looks like it's right on top. So when that happens, occasionally it does, we're going to go back to the assembly, move component, and drag it out and away. All right, so this is going to be the 17mm pin. And okay, I'm going to go change that description, but we can go concentric. We didn't really set a rotation. Typically, I would think that the pin would be pressed, and we need to go back and look at those numbers. That the pin would be pressed into the wheel, and the link would be the one that is allowed to rotate. So we'll check that stack up. So I'm going to put the wheel drive, since kind of always my habit is to put the hardware pins, fasteners, washers, anything at the end. All right, so insert component, existing part and assembly. We'll browse to the link, and this is going to be the 95mm link. So now I could check, this was the 10mm, and that is also 10mm. So in our stack up, I'm not out enough decimal places to really be able to read that. And we'll go coincident, select the faces, and then our check is to, well, it can do whatever it wants to do right now. All right, and then assuming that that's going to be another 17mm pin, looks like there's a little bit of a gap. I'll go ahead and reorder. And I'm going to go ahead and thumb on the control. Not picking that up. All right, well. Concentric. I'm not worried about lock rotation on this. Since that doesn't have a bearing in it and there's no retaining, one of the things I'll have to look at when I optimize is how this is going to play out. All right, so let's look at the next stack up. Let's see if we have, there we go, insert components on the S key, and insert component. We'll browse to the link 140, hit OK. Concentric, go to the faces. So at this stage, since we don't really know what all we're up against, probably going to be safer to not. And I know it shows it like that, but if the pin is like that, it's almost one of those, well, we can check real quick. If I rotate, is there a point where that collides? Or is there a point where the knuckle, if it goes that way, is going to run through? So that would be bad. And so our assembly says it should go that way. And I'm thinking that maybe the pin, so to make the correction, let's expand those out so I can see the mates. We have the concentric is okay. The coincident is so-so. So we'll go take the coincident off of that. If I edit the feature, I didn't really want the fly out. I can rotate around, and we're going to, at this point, I think it'd be better just to clear the selections, and that way I can go in and pick. And actually did not want that one. Oh, where did the pin go? All right, clear selections again because all right, that one and that one. There we go. That makes sense. All right, and then we can come down to the other coincident and edit feature and clear those out, and it will be those two faces facing each other. All right, so that looks okay. And we'll go to the top view, and now there's plenty. Almost looks like it doesn't really need. So either something I did in the stack up, or we really weren't counting on this 35 millimeters to come all the way out, because the 28 looks good there. This could be a 28. Or if we left it the other way, I could suppress those and go to the configuration and then get a sense of how those play out. So since there are two possible solutions, we can go with that route and set up a configuration and view both. So it really depends on what we want on the outside. All right, so I did that. It is backwards of the picture, but not real sure what was going on with that 35 millimeter. If that actually should have been like 45, or we had something else going on. All right, but I'll leave it for now, and we'll pick that up after we do the drawing and look at what's going on with our pin lengths and the direction of the assembly.